Okay, are you ready to set up our seed experiment? I hope so. Hopefully you have this out of your little bag, and you can see I've cut a hole in it because it's very tricky to get your scissors in there. But the first thing we're going to do is decorate our little sprout house. And so I have lots of crayons to color my house. And then we're going to cut out the outside line. So I'm going to angle this down and show you what I have. There we go. And I've placed it on another piece of paper because if I go outside of the lines by accident, I don't want to get it on the table. So you might want to do that too. And we can start coloring. So I might do my little caterpillar in green. He reminds me of our story, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Doesn't he remind you of that? And let's see, shall I choose? I'm going to choose a nice bright orange for my son. But a yellow would certainly work nicely as well. And I want you to take your time with doing this, so when I'm done with mine, or almost done, you can certainly pause the video and take all the time you want and as much care as you can, so you can try to stay inside the lines and make it look really cheerful and pretty. I'm going to do my butterfly with some purple outlines. I wonder what color your little sprout houses are going to be. And so once we've finished coloring this and we're going to cut it out, we're going to have a look at our seeds. And I sent you home with some seeds. These seeds are kidney beans. And you can do this project, I'm sorry, they're not kidney beans, they're lima beans. You can do it with lima beans, you could do it with kidney beans, any of those dry beans that you just can pick up from the grocery store. And we're going to see what happens with them if we put them in a few different circumstances. So I'm going to pause here and leave it at that. You can keep coloring yours and then press play again on the video when you're done, because the next step is to cut it out. So I've got my scissors here. And again, all you have to do is very carefully cut along this line on the outside of the house. Okay, 2 more lines. All right, and I'm all set. Again, take your time cutting this out. And what do you think? Looks pretty good, right? So you'll remember I gave you a Ziploc baggie and some of these lima beans. And so I gave you a few of them, but let's first look at a lima bean. It looks, what color? It's a white sort of color. And I've opened one of them up. You can open one of yours up as well, but you have to let a grown-up do it because they'll probably need to use a knife or some scissors. So that has to be for the grown-up to do. And I opened it up, and so you can see what it looks like inside. Now, I have this little diagram here so we can sort of understand what we're looking at. And it says that on the outside is the seed coat. So just like you wear a coat in the wintertime, this seed has a coat, and it looks a little shinier and a little paler in color, a little lighter white. And on the inside, all this in here, that's the food of our little plant. And then there's one more tiny little piece. Do you see this piece that's right there in the middle? That is the baby plant. It really looks like nothing right now. But let me see, do you see this tiny little piece? Right there, that's the baby plant. So the ones we're going to place in our Ziploc bag and see if they grow, we don't want to open those up. But if you'd like to open one of them up, have a grown-up do it for you, you certainly can. So I'm going to get rid of this one because it won't work once it's been opened. But I still have a few others, and you should too. Now, if you have different kind of beans at home, you might have something different than lima beans. You can certainly try those as well, even in the same bag. So here's my little Ziploc baggie. Now, we listened a little bit to the story I read you before this about the things that a plant needs. And there's lots of things that a plant needs, but 4 things it absolutely has to have. So the first thing is it has to have water. It has to have water to grow. So if a plant's outside, how do you think it gets its water? It usually gets it from the rain. Or perhaps if you are watering plants, it might get it from you or a sprinkler. But usually it has to have rainwater. I have some water in this cup here today, so I'm going to use this, and you're going to get some as well in a moment. The other thing it has to have is light, sunlight. And so plants outside usually don't have a hard time getting sunlight. But if they were underneath a big, big tree, and that tree was blocking the sunlight, do you think they would grow as well? No, they wouldn't. Just like in the story, that weed stopped that little plant underneath it from getting any sunlight. So it has to have direct sunlight. So what we're going to do is put our seeds in a window where it can get sunlight from outside, because the lights in your house won't work. It has to be the sunlight. The other thing it has to have is food. So as we looked inside this little lima bean, it actually has food right inside there. But a lot of plants get their nutrients from the soil because they are rooted in the soil. And then the last thing is it needs air. So we are going to end up leaving our little baggies open a bit so it can get some air. If you seal it off and your seed is inside, do you think it gets any air? No, it's not enough. So we're going to make sure we leave that open. So let's go over it one more time. It needs water. It needs sunlight. It needs food of some type, some nutrients, and it needs air. So those are the 4 things it has to have. All right, so what I'm going to do is I've put some water in my cup here and a few pieces of paper towel. So you can ask Mom or Dad to help you get that together. So mine, you can't really tell from the video, but it's quite damp. You don't want it so it's dripping a lot, just damp, just a little bit wet. And I'm going to kind of fold it up so I can put it in my baggie. So you can do this too. And again, you might need some help from a grown-up. I'm going to place it in my baggie. And then I'm going to place my lima bean right on the outside of it. I want to be able to see the lima bean through the bag, so I don't want it to be tucked inside the paper towel because I wouldn't be able to see it. And if you have a few lima beans, why don't we put a few in there? Sometimes some of them work really well and sometimes some of them don't work. So we're going to leave that in there. And then what I'm going to do, I didn't bring up my stapler, but a stapler is a great way to do it, is staple the back of your bag to your cute little picture, making sure that this is left open. You don't want to zip lock it up. Leave that open. But for now, I'm going to use these paper clips just because I have them handy. All right, so here's one ready to go. And I wonder what you think might happen with these little seeds, these little beans. We'll have to look at them again on Monday. And then by the end of the week, hopefully, we see something. We see them sprout. So this one I'm going to hang in my kitchen window. But you're going to do the same, by the way. Find a nice window to hang it in so it has light and air and food and water. But I thought it might be fun to do a few other beans that I would do for you, and I'll show you at the end. So in this Ziploc baggie, I have a picture of the sun. I'm going to give it no light, no sunshine. So it still has its water. It's wet paper towel that has water on it. And it will still have air because I'm going to leave it open. But I'm going to hide it away in my bathroom that has no windows. So we'll see what happens to that one. Oh, I didn't want to zip it. Let me make sure that's open. Okay, so that one's going to go in my bathroom with no sunlight. I have another one here. It says no air. So I'm still going to put a wet paper towel in my baggie and put a lima bean inside. But I'm going to zip it up so it has no air. All right, there's my beans, my little seeds. I'm going to zip it up and squeeze that air out. Okay, so we'll see if anything happens to these. And next, I have one that says no water. So I'm not going to put a paper towel in there. It doesn't need a paper towel. We're just going to see if we leave it open, we place it in the sunlight. So it will have air and sunlight and the food from inside the bean, but no water. We'll see what happens to those. And again, on Monday we'll take a look and see how they're doing, but by next Friday, hopefully, we'll see some real good action. And maybe if you do this project at home and you have some success with seeing them sprout, you can send pictures to me or to the class. I know everyone would love to see the progress you make. I'm really crossing my fingers that these work because I've had these in my pantry for a while. So I'm hoping they work. Last year they worked really well, these lima beans. If not, I'm going to find another type of bean and I'll do the experiment for you myself so we can make sure that we get to see them sprout. Okay, that's it. Hope you have fun doing the project.